Oh, God, brilliant. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week here at RGM HQ. It's another week of music ahead of us. And as always, we're joined by a new guest today on the RGM Experience podcast. And today, it's very nice to speak to her in real life because we spoke on emails and stuff a lot before in the past. But it's Lissy Taylor. Hi, mate.
Hiya, thanks for having us on.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, mate. You're somebody I've wanted to have a little chat with because I just see you grafting out there in the industry, mate, and I see you doing everything you can to get your music out there in the world. And I just want to have a little chat with you and get to know you a bit, if that's all right with you, pal. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Oh,
honestly, like no days off for me. Just music every day.
well, sorry if we're talking over each other. You know, it is the world of Zoom, so we apologise for any, if anybody's getting any delays on anything there too. So let's, I've just seen you. You just come off your tour. You've just recorded in Abbey Road. We're going to get to all of that. We're going to get to all of that and have a good chat about it. But I just want to get to know you and your journey a little bit more and how you got into music and that kind of stuff, really, if that's okay, mate. So talk. So you're from Stoke originally?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm from Stoke. Like all my family is from Stoke,
Yeah.
and I kind of just started out just like playing in like local kind of like open mics and stuff. Wherever I could get in, probably because I started playing when I was like 14 or so. So I'd just play wherever I could.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I was 15, well, almost 15, moved to America for a couple of years.
Mm.
And just through like my dad's work,
Yeah.
he got offered to go work over there for a little while. And that's kind of when I started like songwriting almost as like a diary kind of thing. It just kind of naturally happened. And then I started playing over there wherever I could, and it kind of just like snowballed.
It does, doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? But how did you find out like music was a thing for you before you started doing open mic nights? How did music grab you personally as a young lass in Stoke before you even started doing your open mic nights? Talk me through that.
Well, it's a funny one because when I was like really young, I used to be super shy, like really really quiet.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, when people are like, oh, I'm quiet, oh, I'm shy, I could never do that. I'm like, I used to be dead shy. Like, I used to be super quiet. I'm not like, I'm not naturally like a super like extroverted person. Um, but I've always kind of loved music. Like growing up, I loved listening to music and kind of singing along, um, kind of quietly in my own way. And I loved doing like I'd love like copying stuff like from like a really young age. Like anything I heard, I was like a parrot. I'd just like be mimicking it all the time. Like probably seemed really daft, but like, but literally anything musical. Like I remember um my mum was saying the other day, she was like, you used to sing the Direct Line adverts all the time and what like anything from when I was like 3, I would anything musical, I'd just kind of latch onto it. Um and then from kind of then getting more into like following artists, like I really like loved Amy Winehouse,
Mm.
I think, and like Florence and the Machine. I'd say those were kind of who I'd listened to the most kind of growing up. Like yeah, Amy Winehouse, Florence and the Machine, Oasis, like all that kind of like um indie alternative rock kind of scene. And I just like sing in the car by myself, or I'd sing in the house, never in front really of anyone
Yeah.
except my mum. Um, and then I got a guitar when I was like 13 or so, and just started learning, and I'd play in the house all the time. I was just obsessed with it. Get home, play guitar, sing. Um,
Did you
and
have?
then one day my mum was like, "Right, you're not playing in the house anymore. You're not playing in the house no more." And she said, she was like, "We're going. to a pub and you're gonna play at this open mic night tonight, and she only told me like about an hour before we were going
Yeah.
because she knew that I wouldn't like. She knew I'd be like stressing and being like, "Oh my God, what we're gonna?" She was like, "Right, we're going.
Oh, really?
I've put you on the list. You're going, and we're doing it because you can't just sit in the kitchen with your guitar
Yeah.
and have no one like play to no one." So she kind of made she gave me like the push that I needed to go and do it, I think. Because I think you've got to do what scares you sometimes. But then after I did that, I was like, that was really fun. It
Yeah.
was like absolutely like I was bricking it, but it was really fun. And then it's just kind of been like
Mm.
stepping up each time from there, really.
In it, no, just just to get that little bit of push off someone, just to go on, put yourself out there, just crack on. It's needed a lot throughout life, isn't it? That kind of stuff, and someone just to take control of the situation a little bit and just it's your mum though. Your mum's putting you out there in the music world. Did you have any like other musical influences around the family as well?
Well, my uncle, he's not like musical himself. Like he doesn't really play or anything,
Mm.
but he's one of them where he'll go to like loads of concerts. He'll travel to like Spain or literally wherever to go see a band.
Mm.
So growing up, I'd always seen like all of like the merch that he'd bought and all the like the posters of all these gigs that he'd been. Like he'd go see Oasis, he'd go see U2, he'd go see like Kasabian in Madrid or whatever. Like he'd go see loads of bands, and a lot of the time it would be like the same bands, but he'd go see them somewhere else. And he's just like really really into his music and going to travel to go see it as well. So I was really surrounded by that, and he'd always be saying, "Oh, come listen to this band, come listen to this, what do you think of this?" And then like giving me like bits of like CD covers or whatever he's kind of got from going different gigs and stuff. And I always thought, wow, like that's so cool. But I never really kind of pictured me doing it growing up. I just remember kind of having so much admiration for it and thinking that's awesome, that's so cool. But I think growing up, I've just like really like raised my confidence just naturally from kind of pushing myself as much as I can. And,
Well,
and
I was going to ask you there. Do you
that's
think
what you have to do.
do you think you'd still be playing music if your mum hadn't given you a push, or do you think you'll eventually got there yourself at some point?
I think eventually I would have got there myself,
Mm.
but I think it would have taken a bit longer for sure. Um, and everyone's different. Like some people can handle kind of being thrown in the deep end,
Yeah.
and some people need to be more gradually. I think with music, I've always just kind of been like, right, we're doing it, and we'll kind of gone in the deep end of just from pretty much like feeling sick before playing an open mic night for the first time, and then actually thinking, you know what, like it didn't go perfect, by the way. I completely messed up. But even though I messed up, I thought, I actually really enjoyed that. And I'm dead proud of myself that I did it. And then from there, I kind of got like the bug for it.
Mm.
And then I just wanted to do it as much as I could and try and test myself. Because I think a lot of it as well as like actually being able to play, I think a lot of it's kind of like a mental kind of test. I think it's of keeping yourself going and having that belief and having that kind of win or learn mentality rather than like kind of kicking yourself if something goes wrong, just being like, okay, we'll learn from it for next time kind of thing.
What kind of opportunities were available in Stoke?
Um, they did have quite a few open mic nights. I think they still have quite a few that go on.
Mm.
one of my favorites was there was one in Stoke, like right near the train station, and if you played, you'd get a free chip butty.
There you go.
And that was brilliant. Like, I mean, it was it was a bar, so I I don't really know if I was meant to be in there, to be honest, but they let me in, and we are just like, because you'd get like a pint and a butty or whatever, and they were just like, look, you can come in and play, we'll have you in play, but you know, no pints for you because you're like 14.
Fair enough. Well, that's fair.
But yeah, there's quite a few, and then my guitar teacher at the time, he ran one as well, that I'd go to quite a lot. But now I teach now at a local college, like doing music, and encourage all the kids be going open mics and doing a lot outside as much as they can. I've just had them all playing on a festival that ran over the last weekend. It was called the Your City Festival, and that's kind of like Stoke's like multi-venue music festival that runs for it's run for a few years now. And that's just really good opportunity to start playing in venues, especially if you're kind of taking it more seriously, as like more than just going to an open mic night and being like, right, we're gonna be a band and we're gonna be on proper stage and all that.
So it must be interesting to see kids with the bright eyes and teaching them what do you physically teach kids these days? What do they need to know? What's good advice for maybe a young lass that's watching this thinking, I can play a few chords, I've just not got out there. What advice would you give somebody like that?
I'd say you've just got to play as much as you can. Play what you enjoy playing. Play what's challenging as well. And I'd say always push yourself to do stuff that scares you a little bit, because if you're doing something that scares you just a little bit, you know, you're going in the right direction. I heard that I can't remember who was talking about it. Someone was talking about like rule of thirds, and they said, you know, if a third of the time you feel like you're enjoying it and it's going really well, and a third of the time it's like okay, and a third of the time you're like, what is going on? This isn't working out. Then roughly you're making progress and you're kind of on track. And I think that's kind of a good thing to stick by, because it's not, you know, it's not always especially in music, you're gonna have such ups and downs with it, and you've just got to have that like belief in yourself, and just kind of keep yourself steady, I'd say.
Yeah, and then you moved to Australia. Sorry, not Australia, America. So what kind of
Australia?
I said a wrong thing. I'm stupid. In America, so
I wouldn't mind it.
Fair enough. So when you moved to America, then like what kind of how did that like influence you with your music and that kind of stuff? What kind of, you know, just having different surroundings, being a different country, America, you know,
yeah,
where dreams are made.
Well, yeah. Like when we moved over there, it was January, and it was like, right, get on the plane, and then as soon as we landed that evening, next morning, I was starting school. So I did like one day of school, or a week of school, which was just like a complete culture shock. It was completely different. And then there was like crazy weather. So there was this big snowstorm, and we were like snowed in. Everyone was snowed in for like about 2 weeks. I had like 2 weeks no school, because the snow was that bad. Like, yeah, like literally like walls of snow everywhere. But
whereabouts in America was it?
It was in that too. So we were in Kentucky. So it's like just above Tennessee, and that kind of 2 week window where I was in the house and new country. So like no friends, no like family apart from my parents. We were all just in the house for 2 weeks, kind of stuck, snowed in. And I'd played all of the songs I could think of that I knew, and I'd played them so many times, I was bored out of my mind. So then I thought, you know what, we're gonna try and write something. And that's when I just started writing songs and muddling my way through it. Uh, and it's just kind of been a craft since and kept going. But playing over there, it was like it was very kind of like cinematic. Like you'd have kind of like loads of like live music bars and everything, and you definitely had to play to the American audience. And I just love music, so I was like, I'll just play whatever you want me play. So like, people will come and listen. And I started doing open mic nights there, and then that kind of came to people started coming to the open mic because they knew I was playing, and I started to get a bit of like known. And then from that, people would say, "Oh, I want you to come and play in my bar or like this event or whatever." And then I kind of thought, "Oh, this decent." I didn't think I could actually like make some money from it. I thought it was just like a cool hobby. And then that kind of like snowballed into playing in New York and playing in Nashville and like actually playing in proper music venues, and it was amazing. Yeah.
How did that transition happen? So musicians do that a lot. They just say, "Oh, I just ended up playing in New York." But how do you end up playing in New York?
Well, it's like I started like in the open mics, and then people started coming.
Yep.
Oh, listen, blah blah blah. And then people kind of started picking up that, oh, there's like getting a bit of an audience coming to these open mics that, they're just like free entry kind of deal. So then I'd start having like bar owners or like restaurant owners then coming up to me and saying, I want you to start playing like regular in my venue. Most of the bars that there have like a built-in kind of stage live area. So then like from that, I'd kind of started gigging, and then from that you'd have like different venues in like Nashville and New York, that would then say, you can come and play in hours. I remember for the Nashville ones, it's like super competitive to get a spot because it's like music city. But I managed to get on to, I think I played in like maybe three different venues or so. And it was just, it was an awesome experience. It was just kind of like word of mouth and social media, being kind of contacted saying, would you play this venue? Would you play this venue? And it was just kind of organically happened.
How would you compare that experience to what it's like in the UK, like getting gigs and spots and that kind of stuff?
In the UK now, there's kind of more like, it might just be for like where I am. I've like progressed a little bit, but like it seems like there's a bit more of a structure, and you've got like actual like promoters that you can work with, like your This Feeling or your SJM or all those kind of all those kind of companies and stuff that'll put the gigs on, or you've got like radio stations that'll be putting the gigs on. But because over there I was just kind of direct with like whoever owns the venue. It was kind of more like grassroots kind of thing, of just direct independent venue owners, or you'd kind of apply to play at like a famous venue, and then you'd see if you got picked.
Yeah.
kind of thing. But in the UK, I think there's definitely kind of more of like a chain of like emerging artists, and there's more of like a circuit of where you can get on. I think there's more opportunity really because there's it sounds daft, but like there's if you've got a good sound and you kind of have your band and have the like the work ethic, I don't think it's like as saturated as over there because I think over there everyone's like there's a lot of people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the UK is a bit more diverse in terms of like the types of music and the genre, especially like especially female artists as well. I think there's starting to be a real shift in like female artists getting into like more like indie and alternative and rock, which like I'm proper behind and excited about.
Yeah, no, I love that. And we've chatted about gigs before. So just like, full disclosure with RGM and that kind of stuff, we are finding live gigs really difficult at the minute for people buying tickets. People aren't buying in advance anymore. They're buying last minute, which is a nightmare. From a promoter's point of view, the venue hire costs are a lot more than what they were post COVID because venues nearly went under and they're just trying to claw some money back, I suppose. Not speaking for anybody specific. I just think that's what they're doing. It makes sense for them to do that because they've had a hard time. So it's even harder for promoters like little independent people like myself to hire a venue for 200 quid and then 2 days before you've only sold 10 tickets and you're not even broke even yet. That's kind of where there's a lot of that going on at the minute. It's really difficult out there for promoters because I can only put people on from Manchester at Manchester gigs and Sheffield from Sheffield gigs just because there's a better chance of them being able to bring people. And I know I'd have loved to have got you on, but I know you're not local to Manchester. But it's been I want Lissy Taylor on the gig. It's been a struggle for me to put people from other towns onto RGM gigs, and it's just I hate that part of the industry where it's just where you have to restrict things sometimes just for fucking money. But if you keep losing money at gigs, it's not going to go anywhere. You need to at least break even to create a night for people to enjoy, for people to come back to again after it's. Mm-hmm. I've gone on a little bit of a rant there, but it's only because I'd love to have an artist like you on an RGM live gig where I'm not a big company like this feeling or SGM. That they can soak those type of things up and work things a different way. They're more national, where I'm just a little guy booking a venue in Manchester or Sheffield or whatever. It's a different kind of ball game, but there's a lot of people that want to do more. They're just finding it really, really tough at the minute, just with ticket sales and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of, there's a lot of like apprehension when you've got a gig and you're thinking, this is getting a bit close now. What is everyone coming? And everyone's like, yeah, I'm coming, and you're like, okay, buy a ticket. But then it's kind of like last minute, it's relief when you see everyone there, and you're like, okay, thank God, it's all works out. But yeah, I'm gonna be I've done recently like some more Manchester shows. I played with Dirty Blonde in the Deaf Institute and Rianne Downey in the Deaf Institute as well this year. Also done the Manchester Club Academy. That's proper cool. But yeah, like I've got a bit of a mix with my band. I've got like some of my bands from Liverpool, some of my band from Manchester, so I'm kind of around there quite a lot. As well for like rehearsals and that, because it's only like 30 minutes on the train, so it's kind of easy to get to Manchester. But I guess it's for gigs, like especially we've just done the tour, and I was kind of like I was relieved and I was buzzing because I was thinking, do you know what, that's gone a lot better than I was thinking it would. Like when I played the Birmingham show, there was a bunch of people there singing the words, singing along, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, like where have these guys come from? And it was amazing. But it's like things like that where it doesn't happen till the last minute, and all that kind of build up towards it. You're thinking, is this going to be all right?
Yeah, it's not. It's no. It's worse after COVID, but we just have to crack on and get a crack on, don't we? You mentioned earlier. You mentioned Rihanna Downer. You mentioned, there's more females getting into the indie world these days, which is great to see. Do you feel like it's getting better and there's more opportunities for women now compared to the past, maybe?
I think so. I think there's more people starting to get into it. I think it kind of goes like an increase in kind of the feminist movement of how like society's kind of viewing women, because I think like traditionally it's kind of been, if there's a woman in music, they've typically been like pop and kind of dancing about on stage. And that's cool if you want to do that, but for me, like I'm not a dancer. So yeah, and like from my experience, the girls that are getting, that are in music and doing well with it, like they're really supportive of each other. And it's really lovely, because it's like, as people say, oh, women supporting women, but it's like it's actually true. Like the experiences I've had working with other female artists, like we 100% back each other. We'll stay and watch each other play. We'll try and get each other on our gigs, because we kind of know from like lived experience how hard it is to kind of break through these boundaries that have been kind of set, just because it's not the standard of what's proven to have done well already. It's so much easier. I think, if it's hard being in a band anyway, but like if there's, I think an audience is comfortable with like the lads band model. And if you're not that, in terms of like your branding and your marketing and your sound, it is a little bit harder, because it's new and you're selling something new. That's, it's not the typical. And I think it's really positive that things are starting to change, and it's exciting as well. And it's setting that example of you can do whatever you set out to do and what you feel's right. Like you've got like Venus Girls, Dirty Blonde, they're great examples of like women doing like rock and doing really well with it.
There's so much. There's loose articles from Manchester. There's Harriet Rose, who I know is doing really well. Rihanna Downer, amazing. There's a young lass from Sheffield, Charlotte Bronson, that's just having a go at it. She's playing one of the main stages of Tramlines this year. I just see an influx of amazing, strong women just, smashing it in music. I just think it's great.
Yeah, it's what I'm all about. I love to see it, and like, like hand on heart, when I see it, I'm proud. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of what it represents.
Yeah. Nice one. Just hopefully some festivals will book more females higher up the posters as well then at some point, because that's still annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like those, like you'll have like them kind of lower down on the bill, or they'll have like a female only stage, but then it kind of feels like, is that a bit of a box ticking thing you've done there, and put them all on one stage? And then is it like we've kind of put them out of the way on one stage that's not as good as the other stages, or not as big as the other stages? I don't know. Part of me has like a little bit of a niggle with that, when they kind of like, oh, we've got a female only stage. It's like, that's great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something that I think it's like, how is that being done? Is it a female only stage where it's a really good stage, it's a really good spot, and it's going to draw people in, or is it like somewhere all the way over there, out the way, really hard to get to, and all the other stages are like on the front door?
I think your instinct is probably right there. I think it probably is at this stage still, which is unfortunate, a bit of a tick box exercise. But that's got to change. Just with the amount of talent that's coming through, that's got to change.
Yeah,
You'll
I
make
think
it happen, won't you, mate?
yeah, I think you've got to go with the mindset now, it's like I was talking to Tom from the Lottery Winners,
Mm.
and he was like, things are changed now. Like you've got to be doing so well that you've got to be like inignorable. Like you've got to be like flat out fantastic,
Mm.
and that's the only option because anything else, it's not gonna cut it. It's got to be like 110%, and then you'll start getting somewhere.
I love Tom's positivity around it all, and he just proves that hard work and talent. When those two things collide, the world's at your oyster. Your world's your oyster, really, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a legend, and he's so supportive as well, which I think is really important for someone that's kind of been there, done it, and is like setting that example, and just being honest about it, not being
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this all just happened. It's like, no, like we worked really, really hard, and this is this is what we did, and now how long it took.
So you mentioned you've just come off the tour. Then was it your first headline tour, that one with This Feeling that you've just done?
That was my second one.
Come on.
With This Feeling for the tour.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was buzzing, and it definitely like felt like a step up from the first one that I did as well. It was also really nice to see some of the same faces, from Twitter.
Yeah.
People come, I see the same faces. It kind of feels like almost more like a club when I see the same people come in from like all different places. Some people would come to see us at like different cities just for fun. Like someone came to see us in London. They were like, I think I've seen you in almost every city now. And that's like, it's the support is amazing, and I'm just like really like grateful that I get to do it.
Any like funny tour stories that you can tell us or share with us?
Well, like usually like my band is usually quite mellow, quite chilled, They'll rock up, might have a beer,
Yeah.
then we'll grab some food, and then we'll go and play. And we'll pack up and we'll head back, nothing too outrageous going on. Um but we played a London show um last Thursday at the Star of Kings near St Pancras,
Mm.
and played the show. I was at the bar, like having a chat to different folks that had come and whatnot. And the band said, "Yeah, you stay having a chat with people, get signed the set lists and have pictures and whatever, and we'll just go start loading up the car." I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool. Thanks." So I started doing that. They started loading up the car, and then I thought, "It's been gone a while. Where are they?" Because I thought they'd just kind of come grab me. And then eventually one of them said, "Oh, come on, we need go, like quite urgently." And I thought, all right. And then I came out, and I think there was like some like drunk guy outside one of the pubs, and for some reason my one of my band had also had a few drinks after the show, and instead of just kind of being like, "All right, mate," ignoring him, he started having a chat. So he was almost starting some sort of brawl outside, and they were like, "Come on, we're getting in the car now, we get all gear in the car." So I just got out, and they're like, "Lissy, in the car now." So we got in the car. There was this man like shouting at us,
Oh.
and they were like, "Come on!" And so yeah, so then the band were having a bit of a go at the other one, being like, "What were you doing, winding him up?" Like, it was just like really out of character for him, because he's usually like the quiet one, and he'd gone out plumbing, kicking off, trying to start a fight. I was like, what's got into you today?
I love that.
Yeah, it was like almost starting a scrap outside the venue. I was like, chill out, boys. But yeah, most of the time it's really chilled, and but I guess not all the time now.
Yeah, so life on tour, busy times. You've got this your second tour behind you now, mate. It must be exciting to be looking forward to the future. And it was amazing to see you recording in none other than Abbey Road when I saw your socials, when I was having a little nosy about you. How did that come about?
Honestly, like I've been keeping quiet about it
Okay.
because I was thinking like, is this a big wind up?
Right.
And, but basically, how that came about was it was like super last minute, and I think it was just kind of the timing of just being ready for any kind of chance that you get. So, a producer, who was he was friends with one of my bass players. And he messaged him saying, are you in Lissy's band? And he was like, yeah, what, like I play bass for her, why? And he says, well, I want to record her, because I'm gonna start like working down in London, and I'm gonna be working out of Abbey Road for a little bit, and I basically I want a band that that a band I like,
Mm.
that I can use whilst I'm kind of learning what the setup is there in that studio. So I need a good band that's done some cool stuff, like is like a higher level
Yeah.
band that's got like national radio or like done some cool festivals and stuff to bring there. Um, and I really like her stuff. So could you mention it to her, ask her if she's got some songs that could do with recording, and we'll see if we can sort it out. He's like, it's super last minute,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it'll be possible, because it was like it was like this month. It all happened within like within 2 weeks or so. It was super last minute. So then I was like, yeah, we'll just make it happen. We'll figure it out. How we all get down there to do it and whatever. But like I've got the song, so
Yeah.
I was like, look, these are my songs I'm thinking. And we picked the one that we kind of thought would be best for it.
Yeah.
And then we played a gig on the Sunday. Had the lads stay over mine. And then super early on the Monday morning, drove to London, and then did
Was you
the
gig in London as well? Because I know you've been in London a few times recently. But was you gig in London, then you came home and then went back down to London again?
Yeah, so we played London on the Thursday,
Right.
and then we played Birmingham on the Friday. Then we had a festival in Stoke where we were playing on the Sunday.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
played Stoke on the Sunday. Then they stayed over mine Sunday night, and then super early Monday morning we were load the car up with the guitars and that, drive to London, and then arrived at Abbey Road. It was just like that. I think for me, I wasn't full. Part of me was doubting if it was actually gonna happen, because I didn't want to kind of get my hopes up too much. But so part of me didn't like fully believe it until I was actually stood there looking at it, and I was like, this is happening. This is like amazing. So recorded and then drove back the same night, but like finished recording at like 8 o'clock, and drove back.
Well, I've had the experience of recording in Abbey Road before. I recorded a Halifax advert. Then people stood in the choir, and I sang in the Halifax choir, and we recorded the advert, the music for the advert in Abbey Road in Studio 2 in the Beatles one.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's so cool, because they were doing like soundtrack stuff. Whilst we were there, they were doing like I think they were doing like video game stuff and like film stuff in the other studio.
Well, a rumor went round that George Clooney's in doing a voiceover for a film. So, and a couple of people saw him. He must have like hid from it because there were like 30 of us in this choir thing. So he'll have been hiding or whatever.
Mm.
I don't know. I can't speak for Clooney. What a stupid thing to say. But it was hard to find anyway because everybody would try to find him, I think. It's just such a magical place when you're walking around the corridors and you see all the history on the walls and the old tape machines and stuff, and you're walking down the stairs and there's pictures of all the legends that I've recorded in the studios. And there's a nice little old lady in the cafe that's lived there, not lived there, but worked there for like 50 years. That's just seen everybody come in and spoke to everybody. It's such a warm, welcoming music place that I just adored spending a couple of days in, just doing my little stupid advert thing. To be an artist and to have that history of being in that building, how did it make you feel? Like how did it like
I
conjure up
think,
emotions in you?
I was just really excited being in the studio. And it sounds daft now, but like I went the loo and walked past all of those, all of the pictures of all the history and things, and I was just thinking, wow, this is awesome, like almost surreal.
Mm.
And then I went the loo, and then as I came out of the loo, like kind of almost dead opposite was a picture of Florence and the Machine, and the next Florence and the Machine was Amy Winehouse. And I got a little bit emotional because I was just thinking that's who kind of I listened to growing up, and now I'm actually here recording in the same place, kind of using the same kit and mics and all the rest of it. And I was just thinking, like, part of me kind of was just thinking, what is going on? How has this worked out? Like, but I think it's important to kind of look at it like that, you know, and just be like super like grateful of like
Yeah.
I've got to do it, and just really grateful that the producer like was like, yeah, I really like your songs. I want you to come record. I was just like, yeah, I'll come and record. So yeah, it was just amazing. I think it's just one of those things like I'll never forget doing it, you know. And it's just like, yeah, like you say, really special place for have played there, have recorded there, and for it to be like my original stuff that I'm there to do.
It's not like high
It
tech,
just feels unreal.
and it's not like high tech stuff. It's like really old mics that they have from like the 60s that are just the equipment that they have are there for a certain sound. It doesn't matter if it's necessarily a new microphone or a new bit of kit. You know, when I were in Studio 2, they had the fucking Lady Madonna piano that Paul McCartney played in there. You know, like this like it's
Yeah.
it's just so in depth and just so intense, really, with the history that surrounds that building. But it's not intimidating. It just felt like it's an easy place for you to crack on, and you don't and it's hard to get that kind of balance in a studio, I think.
Yeah, like it, everything was, vintage, and then like some of the stuff that was in our studio, we were saying, like, oh, like, where's, what version's that one? And they'd be like, oh no, that's the original one. And we'd be like, no way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and like Chris was my drummer, and he was set up and then realized he'd got like 50 grand's worth of like mics hanging over his head, and was just like, oh my god. Just absolutely insane. And they, like you say, like the folks there were lovely, and we had a couple of studio runners working with us, and setting up all the equipment, and then you'd say, can I get you tea or coffee? And I was thinking, this decent. The bass player was like, they've got a fruit bowl in the studio. I was just like, and I was just thinking, like, oh my god, it's like, but it's just showing up. Like, we're not used to this. But I think that's just what made it even more special,
It's well, I know we're not going to be talking about what you've done in there because that'll be announced another time when you've worked it all out. So life's all downhill from here then, I suppose, from Abbey Road.
Well, like I'll always remember it in like closer to kind of releasing the recording. I'll be kind of putting out all of like the pictures and all behind the scenes stuff. We had Paul Gallagher came and
I was
took
going to ask you, is it the Paul
some
Gallagher?
pictures. Yeah.
I've had him on the podcast. Top geezer. I saw that you credited him with your picture outside. I was going to ask you about Paul. It's such an amazing photographer.
No, he's honestly, he's got such like an eye for it. He'd be like, right, let's go over here. This bit looks cool. Yeah, some of the shots are like just like class. The shots are great, and all different like types of editing and everything. Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, proper sound guy, and like we have a laugh together. So it was really really great day.
We had him on the podcast, and you can delve into the archives and listen to our episode with Paul Gallagher. He's so down to earth, and he makes you feel at home as well because he does like to take the piss straight away, even if you don't know him, don't you? So he will like. He knew we were from Sheffield, and he just said, "Oh, you're rough. You've all got knives and that kind of stuff." Because that's what Sheffield United and they call the blades. And it's just silly stuff, but it's just banter. But he's proper. He breaks down any kind of barriers that you might think of a Gallagher, doesn't he? And he just gets straight into work, and he don't take any shit.
Yeah, and I just love it. I love people that are just like, what you see is what you get.
Yes, yeah.
And I just love that, and I think I try to be like that, and just kind of just straightforward. What you see is what you get. Yeah, and he's just genuinely hilarious, and we did some in the studio, and we did some like just walking around London, and it's quite a nice area of London. So walking past all these like fancy houses and that, and I've like all the people owning like the £1 million houses giving us like looks as they walk past or looking out the window like, who are these two? And we're just like, whatever, we're taking some pictures and taking some recordings and that. So yeah, it was really good. And yeah, we had a good laugh.
How did your relationship with Paul start
then? So it was a while ago now. He started playing some of my tracks on his radio.
Islington Radio. Is it Islington Radio?
Yeah. Islington Radio. We started playing some of my tracks. Oh. And then we just kind of like kept in touch from there, and would have a chat whenever. And then yeah, it's just kind of naturally developed, and would kind of send like songs over. And went to his birthday this year, which was like, oh, it was just such a good laugh. I think I arrived and he had like a whiskey in one hand and his Guinness in the other. Yeah, it was brilliant. He'd like hired out like an Irish pub in London, and it was great. It was really really fun night. I think I think I spent most of the night in that bar. By the time I'd got back, it was pretty much morning, and I was on my train back to Stoke in the station, feeling a bit worse for wear. But yeah, it was he's great, and just really really supportive and genuine.
Yeah, no, I don't 100% agree with that. It's just nice to see these people giving back as well and supporting new artists on the radio shows and just getting involved with the careers and just helping people out. It's what it's all about, isn't it? So what's coming up for Lissy Taylor then? Isle of Wight Festival? Yeah,
we got Isle of Wight coming up. Honestly, like so excited for that. That's another like bucket list thing. So yeah, and we're going to be playing on the same day as Robbie. So I want to see if we can get a Stoke picture with Robbie. That would be a bit wild. That would be so cool. So I want to see if I can. If I can't, we still did it. We had a great time. But yeah, I'd like to see if I can get a,
Yeah.
Stoke photo with Mr. Robbie Williams. That'd be well cool. But it's gonna be great. So we're doing that. And then I've got a gig actually in Stoke at the end of June. And then we've got a few more gigs and festivals coming up, like July, August, September. Some of them aren't announced yet. And then I'll be looking to start releasing some new tunes as well. For kind of end of summer, be releasing a few. So yeah, it's all coming up. It's all in the works, and
It's really exciting to watch. Just to, because I've been aware of you as an artist for a while, just to see it really, just seeing all the hard work pay off. I just wish you all the best with it, mate. I think it's great.
nah, I appreciate it. It's just like graft, and I just think, you know what, like I'm gonna give it like 110%, give it my best shot,
Yeah.
and just see what happens, and that's all you can do, I guess. But like I just genuinely appreciate like all the support. I genuinely do. So because it's what I've always kind of wanted to do. It's like my actual like my dream. And I'm just happy I can go and play music and people relate to my songs. Because if I wasn't doing it in like a public way, I'd still be just at home writing the songs anyway. Because for me, it's a very like almost like therapeutic thing. So I'd be doing it regardless. So I'm just like blown away that it's starting to kind of pick up some momentum and getting to do some really cool stuff.
Well, in the description of this podcast and on YouTube, there'll be a link to your website, mate. So if somebody's hovering over that link and they haven't bought some of your tunes, or if they haven't bought a ticket for your next gig yet, or they're just hovering over it thinking, I might 50-50, what would you say to these people that are hovering over your link that are gonna come and see you live soon? How would you make them press it?
I'd say, look, you've got to come watch us
Yeah.
because the way things are going, really,
Yeah.
you're saving money.
Yeah.
See us now.
Yeah.
See us now, because you don't know what can happen.
Why not? Why not? Well said, mate. Well, thanks, Lissy, for joining us for another. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and understanding your journey a bit more, which I think, is what this podcast's all about, really, just celebrating people's hard work and graft. And I look forward to putting a pint in front of you one day in a venue somewhere, when I see you in real life at some point, because it will happen. And I just love the journey, mate, and really appreciate your time today for joining us on the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all the support and for having us on. I really appreciate it. It's been mint.
You're welcome.